All right. Here we go. I'm gonna get this pulled up for you. Welcome to Win the Cellar with Brian Stone. Very excited to have him. Brian has been in the business for seven.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was 7 or 8 years.
Yep.
He has ran a very healthy real estate business. He also is the owner of co-owner, founder, whatever, CEO, COO, CFO.
All the things, head
all
janitor.
things, head janitor of Sign Rovers, which is a phenomenal company for leverage. He'll probably hit on that again later on today too. Brian was also the productivity coach before I came in, did a great job. He can get to that level with you and understand where you're going and where you need to be. So you are in for a wonderful training session. All right, Brian, take it over, okay?
Awesome. What a lovely introduction. Thank
I
you. Thank you. So yeah, no, they tend to say start with credibility. By the way, I know we don't have everybody here. Some of you will be watching this after the fact, so I'm gonna speak as if there's a whole full group of people, even though it's a smaller group. But yeah, so yeah, as far as credibility goes, yeah, Shanna said it right. So I've basically held every position in real estate you possibly could. One thing she didn't mention was I used to teach contracts. I did that for about 3 years at a real estate school too. So I taught the MREP class, and I taught contracts, including listing contracts, buyer's contracts, all that documentation. So, and I'm a broker salesperson, so I have my broker's license, but I am not the broker. I'm a broker basically. So, yeah, I don't like talking about myself, but I have to start that way just so that set the stage. So awesome. So remind me your name one more time. Jason. Okay. We've got Turian and probably yeah, Brett coming back. Yeah. So awesome. Well, as they trickle in, we'll get started. So today is all about sellers. So we're going to talk in as much detail as we can within the time we have. I know you've got to run a little bit early, so we'll try and be sensitive to that. Anyway, I've got the chat monitored, so if you can do me a favor, if you see anybody jump into chat and I miss anything, just let me know. Okay. Awesome. So of course we have to have our lovely TCPA. So basically, if you're going to make calls, be responsible. I will tell you the trick here is lead funnels, right? So if you're doing your lead funnels properly, that is permission. So with the time frame, right? You have 3 months. You have 3 months to connect with those leads. And one of the two things has to happen within those 3 months. So one, they either say nope or opt out, or they text back and say stop or whatever, which means, hey, I don't have consent to continue the conversation, so I don't, right? Or they give you permission to continue the conversation past that 90-day period, right? But once they put in their information now, even if they are on the do not call list, they have given consent for you specifically, not everybody, but for you to reach out to them about whatever their inquiry was. So don't feel afraid to call if it comes in to DNC, but make sure you have a record of everything. And if they say, hey, I'm on the do not call list, then just be really quick and say, hey, you know what, totally understand that. Actually, within 90 days of you putting in an inquiry, it does give me permission. So are you okay for me to just ask questions about solving the problem that you're looking to solve? And if the answer is no, that's fine. I'll go ahead and take that off, right? So I'm just really clear about what the guidelines are when I talk to people. And usually if you're honest about their rights, the conversation goes super smooth.
Yeah,
So,
I haven't run into it yet.
most people, they put in an inquiry for a reason. Every once in a while, if you're doing a lot of like Google ads and stuff, they'd be like, how'd you get my number, right? So I get some of that when I'm doing prospecting and stuff. So it's not uncommon. So other notices. So all the examples are just informational only. We have the negotiating commissions or compensation section in here. So there is no commission standard. There's no compensation standard. As we talk about examples of that, I'll let you know what I do. We can talk about what you could do, but it's not fixed. So yeah. Fair housing, obviously, stay compliant with that. As we get into love letters and stuff like that, as far as the listing agreement, I recommend not consenting to love letters because of fair housing. Same with all the other AI related stuff. So yeah, text messages generated by artificial intelligence should be reviewed for accuracy and reliability. Any of you guys using AI systems right now to do any lead follow-up?
Using AI, just getting started in
Got it, cool,
stuff.
okay.
So
So
kind
keep,
of
keep in mind that there are some rules there, make sure that you're compliant, you're vetting any of that stuff. And they're not saying anything that would be in violation of fair housing. So you can teach AI model, I'm a big AI guy, you can teach AI models to be compliant as long as you feed the right information. So I encourage leveraging that tool, just leverage it with responsibility, because that tool is not a scapegoat for your responsibility as a licensed professional in terms of anything regarding the do not call, TCPA compliance, fair housing, any of that stuff. It still all applies, even if it is an AI on your behalf. You're still liable for it, so just be aware of that. So, awesome. So let's jump into the review. So you guys are getting towards the end of Ignite. I know there's a lot of sessions, but honestly, there's a lot to what we do. So I'm excited to be in the seller portion. I love listings. I absolutely love listings. They're my favorite thing, which is weird because I started in the industry as a buyer's agent where I exclusively work with buyers, but I very quickly realized that listings were a ton of fun. And it was a lot more, to me, it was a lot more value-based. Now with the NAR guidelines and everything is, and really it was then too to be a successful buyer's agent. And I learned that really quickly, but it has always been very value-based to be a listing agent. You're always in competition, whether or not it's someone in your database or not, there is always some competition. It may not be another agent, but it's their expectations based on what service levels are for other professional industries or other services they use, right? So we talk about Amazon, we talk about, 2-day delivery, we talk about the constant communication they get from professionals in other industries. That is our competition in terms of expectations for customer service. So we'll get into that as we get into the full agenda. So today we're going to start with A sellers and what those are. We'll talk about getting the appointment, the pre-listing packet, the appointment itself, the agreement, and then we'll give some time for you guys to ask any questions. And really, this is a dialogue, not a monologue. So as we go through, if you guys have questions, then feel free to stop me. Just be aware that I might have to pin it or table it to the end if we get into a real deep discussion, so we can get through the content and then hit anything at the end for the sake of time. Cool. Sound good? Cool. All right. So somebody want to read this quote for me since we've got it up?
While leads are vital to your sales business, seller listings are critical to your ability to build it to its highest level with the lowest costs and highest net.
So what does that mean? And we talk about listings all the time. What does that mean?
It's more efficient of your time to work with listings than it is buyers because of how much time is involved to make sure that you're guiding the right buyer to the right house, whereas listing it might be easier to market to the 3,000 agents in the GSBOR compared to the 35+% that's actually available in the market that's actually looking.
So it's good summary, Trey, and I appreciate that. So yeah, absolutely, it really is about leverage. And every listing should result in you getting 1 to 2 additional buyers. If not the client themselves turning around and buying as well if they need to. It's a call from the sign, it's a call from when you're marketing, while you're marketing a listing, right? It's inquiries to your website, it's people driving by and seeing your sign in the yard, right? All of that stuff. So but we'll get into that. Awesome. So what does it mean to be a qualified seller? So I know you guys have talked about the buy side already on some of this, right? So they talk about ready, willing, and able.
Buyers. Yeah. So I see A is a little bit different type of classification, 14 days, whereas an A buyer is within 30 days.
Correct.
Am I okay?
Yeah, correct. Okay. So there is a difference, and listings, I will tell you, I actually think a lot of listings take longer to nurture than buyers to do the right way, because it's not typically they call you up, you go meet with them, you have a sign in the yard that day, right? To really do a listing effectively and not to do a disservice to the client, which we'll get into some of the way that I list and sell homes, a little bit further in. I think it takes the proper expectation, it takes the right time frame. That being said, sometimes I do get to people and they're already that close to needing to turn around. And I can have a listing live in 72 hours if I have to. I could do it in 24, right? But you might not like the result. So the key thing here that I always tell my sellers when I'm setting the expectation, if they are an A seller, right, is you only have one chance for first impression, right? So oftentimes it's not worth that day that we lose in marketing to put out an inferior product, right?
Sure.
Because once it's viewed, those buyers don't go back unless there's a reason for them to go back. And there's a few reasons that they would go back, right? One of them is doing a price change. So when you explain that to the sellers, oftentimes that allows them to be a little bit more patient and allow you to run and steer the ship, right? So we also talked about listings being the focus, right? It's part of the 3 L's, right? The reason being is it actually provides leverage for your business and provides leads as well. So listings bring buyers, listings also create a lot of leverage for your business because it takes a lot less time to manage and maintain a listing than it does to work with buyers, because I don't have to be in the car driving and doing all the things, right? Spending my gas. I oftentimes won't go back to that listing until I'm there to close it, right? After that first initial meeting, if I already have a sign set up. So here's a few of the virtues. So we'll, like I said, a lot of this stuff you guys already know. So I'm gonna skip past some of it so we can get into the meat of it. So it's pretty straightforward, right? Marketing opportunities, you got control of your time. The per hour compensation is big, right? And I'm huge on per hour compensation because I think that everybody has their own thought process, right? We talk and we teach Keller Williams about building a life by design, right? My life by design is not to be the top listing agent in the market, right? It's not, and that's okay. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with having that be the goal. For me, I want to be the most leveraged and most efficient listing agent in the market, right? I want to spend the least amount of time on a listing while still being the best in terms of outcome, right? I want my sales price to original price ratio to be higher than the average agent, which right now is sitting at about 104.26% list to sales price ratio, and the market average is about 98. So I'm 6% better than the typical agent in our market, right? So really easy to negotiate for compensation, right? When you can have those stats. So for me, that per hour conversation is huge, right? But it can be different for you. Decide what your focus is. Yeah.
Are you gonna go into today how you created that difference between the average and where you're at?
Absolutely, yeah. As we get into it, yeah, we'll talk about some of the strategies that I use to make sure that I'm maximizing that. I even have an additional printout that I'll show you the most powerful one page in my listing presentation that I use, and I use it on every single presentation. We'll get into that. Something you guys have access to on a monthly basis. So we'll get into that. Also, we talked about it before. Marketing, selling listings brings you more business, right? Listings bring more listings, and they bring buyers. And I love number 5 because if you have any anxiety about the market and where it's going, the best thing you can do is control it, right? And as listing agents, we are at the front end of pricing. We're at the front end of setting the expectation for what the market does. You don't have to be at the mercy of what I'm gonna negotiate in terms of a buyer's compensation, right? Who cares what other listing agents are offering, right? When you have that market control, you can control your compensation too, right? I have a menu pricing approach. I'm working on my 3rd menu option. I have 2 right now. I have one that's 3% compensation for me as a listing agent, one that's 4% listing compensation for me as the agent. And that's outside of cooperative compensation. I used to say I have a 6 and a 7% listing, right? But now the language has changed, but it's still the same effect, right? Because if you are worth what you charge, you can charge what you're worth. There are listing agents that I've seen in our large Keller Williams conferences that charge 8, 9, 10%, right? You can charge whatever you are worth. And as long as it's in line with the seller's motivation, they'll pay it, right? Not every seller needs my 4% listing. Most of them have already done a lot of the legwork that I would do with that additional compensation. So it's not for everybody, but when it is, it can be a slam dunk, right? Actually, when I was a coach, I'll give Maria Galgano a shout out. She's an ALC member. When she was brand new, her first listing she ever took, she took at 7% total compensation, 4 to her, 3 to buyer's agent, right? right out of the gate. So it can be done even if you're a new agent without established systems, because it's all based on the value that you provide, but we'll get into that. So, we'll briefly talk about this because, we're gonna get into it in more detail, but essentially, everything starts with lead conversion. And once you get through this process, you can customize it some, but I think the pre-listing and the listing consultation is really good place to start. A lot of agents don't do pre-listing packet or set expectations before they even hit the door, but it's a really good way to set the right expectation on the front end. So I'd encourage you guys to look at it. And then we'll get into offer negotiation, contract to close, post-close systems, all of that stuff. So, and some of these you'll get in and have gotten into in other courses. We're not going to hit everything today, but that's the cycle. So that's my really short intro. So, let's talk about just a couple of ahas from the get-go, either from your past sessions at Ignite or just the short amount that we've talked to today. Anything that you guys want to share?
The menu pricing, like, it's something that I've kind of considered, but, it's just become a thing that I don't even know how to like wrap my head around yet.
Sure.
About what's the difference between this and this, and if I'm gonna go that route, how do I justify it?
Sure.
That's something I'm just thinking about now, so.
I think one of the best strategies with the post NAR settlement market that we're in is having the bundling and or unbundling of services, right? Because that menu basically allows you to say, hey, you know what? I have a right fit for whatever seller I come across, right? Some sellers don't want to offer full compensation to a buyer's agent. It's a handyman special property, right? Chances are an investor's going to get it, try and negotiate that commission out of the sales price anyway. So on the front end, we just won't offer that unless the buyer needs it. And we'll do less as far as marketing because we're pricing it as is, where it is, and that's the kind of listing we want. And I might have a lesser compensation model for that because there is less cost to me as a business owner, as a listing agent. And you know what? If you're okay with that, great, right? You can also have that premium option, right? 6, 7, 8, 10%, whatever it is, the total compensation, based on what the value is, right? There's a lot of agents out there that do the flat rate. I don't recommend a flat rate because I think it's all individualized. I think the menu achieves what they're trying to achieve with that without selling yourself short, personally. But I know a lot of agents that have success with that. So it's up to you guys on how you want to run your business. So awesome. Let's talk about getting into the appointment. So how do we convert A sellers to listing appointments where you can actually win the seller? It's like how I did that. I actually put the name of the class in there. I definitely it was definitely in my notes, but I like it. It's kind of like when you watch a movie and they say the name of the movie in the movie. It's the best. Awesome. So, obviously respond right away. Speed of lead, right? Those inquiries are huge. And I don't even say speed of lead. That used to be what everybody talked about. I think it's speed to value, right? You have to not only reply quickly, but you have to reply with the thing that's actually valuable to set you apart, right? I have a lot of inbound lead systems. I do some referral-based systems. I do Google ads through my CRM. Right now, I've got about 36 seller leads that have come in over the past couple of months. I've got 3 of those that are either listed or in the process of listing. I've got one that will be going live today. And it's not enough for me to just respond quickly. I can tell you that. I've learned that firsthand. You have to respond with value quickly. So I actually have a smart plan, or for me, it's an auto plan. I have a smart plan that sends a link to a home value site for them to put another inquiry through my website to get the answer they actually want. Because most of the question is what? How much is my house worth, right? So you give them that right away, and you give it through your website, and not for them to go to Zillow and go to the 3 premier Zillow agents who are only premier because of the price they pay, right? So you have to control that value right from the get-go if you want to convert. And then along with that, getting valid and complete contact information. We talk about pre-qualifying in your packet, and if not, you can look it on KW Connect. They have a win the seller intake form, right? And it actually gives you that form where you can break it down. You guys have that already where it gives you the questionnaire? Should be in there. If not, I can send you guys a copy of it. A lot of people overcomplicate pre-qualification. It can literally just be a is if you were to do a client intake and you're going to a doctor's office, what are all the things that they would ask? Name, number, preferred contact method, right? And then we just add other stuff in there. Where are you moving to? When would you like to get there, right? I mean, your pre-qualification process needs to be consistent, but it's not complicated. You can literally have it in front of you and just ask all the questions. You'd be amazed at how people just answer the questions when you ask them. And then make sure motivation is there. So that's how we decide if they're actually an A seller. So there's a lot of scripts around that, one of which is, hey, if I were able to list and sell your home within 30 days, would that cause a problem for you? Would you be able to move in that time frame? I love that question because it establishes motivation with a little bit softer intent, and it's about the seller's needs, not about your needs, right? So, hey, if I listed and sold your home within 30 days, would that cause a problem? And a lot of the responses I get are, oh, well, I'd have to figure out where I'm going, or, well, we haven't determined what our next transition is, right? So you can list a home too soon. I tell my sellers all the time, I can sell your home quickly. I promise you I can sell your home quickly. There's a price that would sell your house in a day. There's a price that would sell your house within a couple hours, right? Ultimately, what's more important is where you're gonna go and how long do you need to get there, because the worst thing I can do is to list too soon to get a ready, willing, and able buyer that wants to be within 30 days, and then you're not ready to make the jump. I've got a seller right now that's 77 years old. I have her on an authorization show. So it's an off-market listing that I have, or a pocket listing that I have right now. And she's not ready to move because she doesn't have her next assisted living situation worked out. She's exploring that, right? We're entertaining potential investors that want to, give her 60 to 90 days. But if I listed her house today, would I be doing her a service or a disservice? A disservice, right? Because it's not about my motivation, right? I have to be in line with theirs. And then you set the appointment. So time, date, as soon as possible, you send that pre-listing packet, right? So you get that information. I love this. So anybody ever read the full NAR home buyer and seller survey? You can access it. It's a big packet. The NAR does it every single year. We pay enough dues. I promise you that, you've earned the right to review that information. This is different every year, but it's really interesting to see it. It used to be that this was way different when I first got in the industry back in 2017. Totally different. Right now, what's the top thing that people want, that sellers want from us?
Pricing the home.
They don't know.
Yeah,
they don't know.
How weird is that, right? The most important thing is, I don't know, right? This is the first time I've seen that, like the first year in the survey that I've seen that. It was really fascinating to me. Because what can we do with that information?
Not a lot.
Is that true though? What can we do? What are some things we could do? If we know going in that a lot of sellers are all across the board on what their expectations actually are, how do you win the appointment? How do you win the seller?
Finding out what's important to them.
Bingo, right? This is all the more reason to have your listing presentation be based on the seller and not your ego, not your marketing. This is about them. You have to ask the proper questions. Otherwise, you cannot identify what it is in this pattern that's important. We know next to that, they want to price the home competitively. We know they want us to help market it to potential buyers and to work within their time frame and to find help with ways to fix it up, right? Give them advice on what to do, what not to do, what they get a return on investment, and what they won't, right? That's a big part of it. So you need to have all that expertise, but more than anything, you just need to ask them what it is that they want, what's important to them. Guys, if I'm a new agent and I see this, I'm excited, right? Because it means that previously it was almost exclusively about marketing expertise, right? And now what this is telling us is nationally, it's about the agent that cares about the seller the most. We'll let that sit in. So that means there's an opportunity, right? Should you be worried about going against me in a listing presentation? Well, I would say yes, but for you guys, right? No, you shouldn't be, right? Because if you ask more questions, if you create that connection with the seller, if you truly identify what it is that they need, you're gonna win. You're gonna win. And that should be encouraging to you guys as a new agent. So it means the game is not closing the appointment, the game is getting the appointment, right? And if you know how to ask great questions and you have a good process for doing that, you're golden. You're golden. Expires, for example. best question you can ask for somebody that hasn't expired or has ever worked with another agent ever, right, is how did that go when the previous agent that you worked with, right? So when I'm pulling my comps and I see that they bought the house from, Blake Cook, I'll pick on him. So they bought it from Blake, but they're not listing it with Blake. And they're talking to me. I get to pick on him. Probably not gonna happen. He has a great conversion for past clients, but if it does happen, my number one question is gonna be like, hey, I'm not gonna shy away from that. So I see that you purchased the house with another agent. Can you tell me about why you're not meeting with them today and you're meeting with me instead? And just let them talk, right? Because the reality is Blake could have done amazing by his standard, and he didn't ask for feedback enough to know the one thing that was most important to that seller. And by me asking in this listing appointment, I'm gonna identify what that is. Well, it was communication. I always heard from his admin and I never got a personal call from him. I really liked that agent and I thought I was gonna be working with him directly, and that wasn't the case. And that was the thing that bummed him out about the whole process. And so now I can step in and set my expectation. I take notes, right? And say, okay, I'm gonna take some notes during our appointment. And I'm gonna say, do not leverage communication with this client, right? I can leverage other things, but that's the thing that's most important to them. So I'm gonna tailor that experience, right? Does that make sense? Cool. So always ask those questions. And that's part of how you build up that confidence, right? My favorite quote ever. I'm not gonna write it because I can't spell. You guys can write it down. So unspoken expectations are premeditated resentments. I'll say that one more time for you guys that are right. Unspoken expectations are premeditated resentments. Any idea on why I bring that up when it comes to building confidence and trust with a seller?
Because that probably happens a lot. That unspoken stuff just goes that they maybe assume that I know or don't know, and it builds a wall between you and the client at times, I would assume.
Yeah. I will tell you, full disclosure, I'm not perfect. I have a seller right now, that it's home that's on the market. I totally missed an expectation that I set. Or that I thought that I set, it wasn't clear, right? I mentioned that I would give them updates along the way, and they saw in my listing presentation that I have a website or a portal to do that. They were really excited about that portal, and I didn't really communicate how that portal worked and what kind of updates they would be getting from it. And I made the decision to try and be sensitive to their time, to not have them be on the automatic updates of that client portal, so they're updated as things are happening and showings are happening and all that. I thought they would prefer to have everything consolidated into my weekly conversation. And guess what? I missed the boat, because their expectation was to see everything as it came and to have a place for them to look at it. They were most excited about that in my presentation. It was part of my marketing plan. And I changed the plan I presented because I was trying to do them a service. And by doing so, there was an unspoken expectation that I didn't meet. And I'm chasing that client right now as far as making up for lost time to try and really provide enough communication of value to win them back. I won them, I lost them. Now I have to win them again. What do you think the likelihood is that I have a repeat client? So it's a lot lower. It's a lot lower. I may not have another listing for this couple. Again, that's really, really difficult for me because I know my intent is to do a really good job and I really care about the people that I work for. And all it took was me setting the right expectation. And I didn't do it, right? So it's gonna happen. You guys, you're gonna miss an expectation and you're never gonna miss that one again, but then you'll miss another one, right? And so it'll happen. So let's talk about closing tactics. So I love this. Has anybody read the book Shift? Not yet. It's okay if you haven't. So it goes into great detail on this. You can also look these up. This is in your packet, but I would review these closes. I'm gonna pick a couple here to talk about. Anybody recognize any of these closes? Okay, which ones do you recognize? Which ones have you guys already used and tried so far?
Take back close, assumptive close, and showing the benefits, feature and benefit. I think that
Benefits, yeah.
there should be a feature to the benefit.
Sure, sure, yeah. No, that makes sense. Okay, anybody else? You guys ever?
I haven't had a listing appointment yet.
Okay.
Yeah, so I haven't quite got there. I'm in the process though of having these conversations right now.
Well, you notice these are not appointment tactics. These are closing to the appointment tactics. So if you're waiting until you have that appointment set, you're already behind, right? So I'll highlight my favorite three. Tie downs are, by the way, incredible, like teenagers are incredible tie downs. If you have a kid, their tie downs are their go-to. I'm not gonna talk about that one, but just look up tie downs. It's like, it's where you end everything with it, like, don't you think? Isn't that right? You know what I mean? Like you're like tying them down at the end. My personality leads me to certain closing tactics that work better for me. And I would say, figure out what it is that is your natural style of service and find the closing tactic that lines up with your style. My favorite one is the negative positive close. I absolutely love it. I'll talk about three. I'm gonna talk about the negative positive, the assumptive, and then I'll also talk about, I got my notes in here, also talk about the take back close, because those are the three that I probably use interchangeably the most, but the negative positive is my favorite. Anybody know what the negative positive is? Okay, so this acknowledges the potential negative, but turns it into a positive. So it is psychological for people to want to say no. They enjoy saying no. So you make the answer that they want to say, the answer that you want them to say. Right? So I'm gonna let you guys take a shot at it and I'll give you a few examples, but what's an example of something that you would get whilst trying to set an appointment that would be useful to shift to a negative positive close?
You wouldn't want to wait till 2 weeks from now to get this started when our dream home could be on the market today.
All right, so how would they typically respond to that? Well, no, I wouldn't want to wait. Right, yeah, okay. Again,
Like a double negative.
When
Yeah,
I'm calling like a for sale by owner, I do say this a lot, like a no oriented question. It's like, would you be opposed to invite me over sometime this week and we can
yeah,
sit down and talk about what blah, blah, blah is gonna look like? And
Yeah.
no, I wouldn't be opposed, is what they say every time.
I love, would you be offended?
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Would you be offended if I, checked in with you next week? No. Right, it's really simple, doesn't even feel like a close, right, but it is. So to close the appointment, it's like, would you, and I see, I flip back and forth. So the negative positive, we'll shift. So I'm trying to find a good example. Oh yeah, here's another one. Yeah, I go to my notes. I wrote this ahead of time. I understand it's a big decision, which is why I'm here to ensure that you get the best value and guidance, right? That's still a way to ease, right? So when it comes to a negative positive, that actually allows you to show empathy and it allows them to feel in control because there's control from them saying no. But be wary of the counterfeit no. On the counterfeit, yeah. Where's that coming from? Is it really coming from the speaker? What? On our? That's exactly what happened. Okay, all right, somebody's listening to Snowman.
Song back to them.
That's.
That's amazing.
You play the Hokey Pokey or something.
That, yeah, or a Rickroll, that would be fun.
That would be
Okay,
hilarious.
all right, let me make sure I'm in the right spot here. Okay, here we go. That's funny. All right, so yeah, negative positive, make the no the answer that they want, right? What I said earlier, like, would it cause a problem for you if we sold your house in 30 days, right? That's a negative positive. No, right? So let's talk about the assumptive close, right? So anybody want to guess what the assumptive close is?
I did this all the time in boats. I just assumed. So what card do you want to put that on?
Yeah. You're assuming the sales already happened, right? You're assuming you've already owned the business and you've already earned it. And you're just moving to the next natural step and you're not giving the opportunity to object Because you're posturing yourself as if you already have won their business, right?
I'm gonna go ahead and send those documents over. Go ahead and get those back to me. If you have questions, let me know.
Yeah, do you prefer to sign a paper or would you rather sign electronically?
Right.
Right. That's all of that is an assumptive close, right? Would you rather me go ahead and send out a pre-listing packet or are you an in-person?
I
person?
actually did
Right.
just do that. That's why I was at a buyer's consultation. And they did just say, yeah, just email it to me. Sounds good.
Yeah. Yeah, also called an option, right? It's kind of an option close and an assumptive in the same vein, right? So it's, you are operating on the assumptive. So when would you like to get started? Right?
What was this close?
Oh, yeah, would you prefer for me to send over a pre-listing packet? Or would you rather it be in person? We can schedule a time to review that in person. And then you can go into more detail. I know some of my clients really prefer to look at everything in advance and review all of the documentation and what it is that I do ahead of time. So that way they can ask specific questions. And some prefer to talk about it in person and see it for the first time at the house. I'm fine with either one, by the way, right? So you can tailor that. That's another way to do an assumptive for the pre-listing packet. Or something like, hey, I'll prepare the paperwork. Right, I'll get it sent out to you, right? Now, I don't necessarily recommend that too hard because I like to do paper signs, especially if you know you're in competition. This packet right here, you can see it's just a file folder. If you don't already have one of these in your car, you should. It has every correct documentation that I need to sign somebody right there on the spot. Right, I have buyer's packets, I have seller's agency packets, I have all the, I have an HSA or compliance related paperwork in there. I have my Missouri broker disclosure forms in here, so I can review that. There's something psychological with people actually putting pen to paper too. So the order in which you present that stuff is really valuable. I love the Missouri broker disclosure because one, you should be doing it anyway. And two, you're already getting them in the mindset of the assumptive. They're already signing, even though it's not a representation agreement, they're putting pen on paper that you're handing to them. What do you think the likelihood is at that point that they're gonna sign the rest? Yeah, the pen's already moving. Let's keep it moving, right? So I don't love kicking the can, but some people prefer electronic. So, but yeah, do you prefer electronic or paper? And be ready for both, right? So that's the assumptive. Let's talk about the take back. I love this approach because it actually involves suggesting that the client might not be ready or might not be a fit. You know, there's a good chance that we're not a fit.
Yeah.
Right? Because I don't take every listing. I only take listings that have clear motivation where we can agree upon a price. And I won't be offended if we're not a fit. Because I only take listings that I'm confident that I can sell. That's awesome, right? Think about it.
It's like mega authority.
Yeah, like
It
you're like,
really is.
they're talking about
I mean,
alpha posturing.
To come across like that.
Yeah, it's just,
really is.
I don't even know what I would say if somebody
Yeah.
said that to me.
I would be stunned.
I would be like,
I would be
I'd
like,
be like, oh,
You'd say,
This
well,
guy's the deal.
Yeah.
your immediate thought, because nobody likes FOMO, right?
Right.
Nobody likes missing out. I'd be like, well, what do you mean I wouldn't be
Why
a
would
good
you not
fit?
wanna work
Why
with
would
me?
why would I not be a good, what's wrong with my house? Why wouldn't you want to list and sell my house, right? You already get that. Now they're courting you, right? Now they want you as their agent because you've established that on the front end. So I love the take back close. It can be really powerful because it shows that you don't have to have their business. I use it on the buy side all the time when I'm going over paperwork. And I use it some on the list side too. I make it clear that they understand, hey, I want you to know, because this is important for you to know, that regardless of whether you sign with me today, my family's fed. Right? So when you choose to list with me, by the way, that's an embedded command. When you choose to list with me, know that I'm supporting your best interest. It's not about me needing to make a sale. I'm going to be fiercely protective of your equity because that's my job. And if we don't come together on this, that's okay. It just means we're probably not a fit.
So how'd that verbiage go? I only take listings I'm confident in and sellers have clear motivation.
Yeah,
I do kind of something like that when I'm talking to like somebody on the phone, whenever they're being a little bit like the wall's still up a little bit, I haven't broken through yet.
Mhm.
The question that I asked them, and you just reminded me of it, was like I had a for sale by owner call that was just like this. Real standoffish at the beginning, just trying to keep the conversation going. And I got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm just gonna say this and see what happens. And it worked really well. It was, you know, I mean, why don't you just stay exactly where you are? Like, the place looks beautiful. Why don't you just stay there?
Yeah.
And they were just like, well, I can't because I got this, and then I got this, and then I got this, and I got this, and then the conversation completely turned around. That
Yeah.
kind of reminded me of what that was kind of like.
That's a little bit softer, but I would still consider that a take back clause,
Yeah.
right? The listing that I'm going live on today, my first question, when he was talking about how great it was and how it was a good area and how you should be able to rent it out, no problem. I said, why don't you keep it and rent it? You know, it sounds like it doesn't make sense for you to sell, right? And then you get to the real motivation, right?
Mhm.
Because they think when you show up to the appointment, they're trying to sell you. I'll take the listing, right? You don't have to sell, it, right? I'm not the buyer. Well, sometimes I am. Sometimes you are, right? I mean, sometimes we buy the houses, but you know, most of the time, no, you know, you don't have to sell me. So that take back is super powerful. Really, really like it. And a lot of them are really good. Trials are good. You know, give them what they're looking for are good. I mean, do some research on these. I promise you, you're already doing closes that you don't realize you're doing because it's your natural way of speech. And when you read these and start doing research into the language of sales, you'll read one and you'll be like, oh, that's what I do anyway. So lean into that, rehearse it, understand it, know the mechanics of it, when to use it, when not to use it. And you are going to be way more polished in a presentation just because you know your preferred closing tactic. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. So let's talk about questions versus objections, right? So we talked about closes. So there's a lot of agents that confuse the two. They try and go to objection handling right off the bat. Or they just answer what is an objection as a question, right? If I misinterpret someone trying to argue about compensation, right, or asking objecting to compensation as a question, then I'll just answer it. And I may be giving up compensation, right? Say, well, can you take less? Okay, if I answered that as a question, what would the question be? Yes, no, right? Those are the two options, right? If I want to handle that as an objection, it's like, well, it sounds like what's most important to you is making the most money possible in your home. Is that right? By the way, that's a tie down. Is that right? Right. And if the answer is, well, yes, so great. So it's not compensation, it's your net. Am I interpreting that correctly? Yeah, okay. Well, let's break down the net and then I can get in the conversation about, oh, here's the average listing agent and what the average listing sells at. Here's what my average is, right? So I can show you how I can help you net more regardless of compensation and including compensation, both for myself and potentially buyer's agent, right? Because if you show them the numbers, you show your work, they won't have a problem paying you what you're worth. So, ahas, takeaways from that section? Anything you guys want to make sure we write down or elaborate on?
Just love the take back. I love that so much.
So good,
The
right?
only thing I've been able to think about is like, oh my God, when should I employ that?
Yeah.
Because that is such a, like, when you said it, like, I was like, damn, like, that's a good power move, but it doesn't really come across like it's not pushy or anything like
No,
that.
no.
So that's
Yeah, I
really
was gonna say,
cool.
like, and I've not really used it,
Yeah, I haven't
but,
used it like that.
I'm sure you
Powerful.
can do that in a very, not aggressive, but like a stern way and almost a soft way too, that when you're presenting it, that takeaway to that person, you know?
I was thinking about it, because whenever I'm trying to like book a preview or a meeting with somebody, I'm doing a way softer version of that, and I'm just like, man, I should really just use that, because then maybe I could filter out some of the meetings that I'm going on the ones that don't have as good motivation possibly.
Yeah.
But just be more stern with it, be like, hey, you know, at the end of our meeting, we're gonna decide if working together even makes sense. That's something that I say right now, but I don't really go much past that because, you know, I'm not the agent for everybody, and
Sure.
you know, I really have to protect the time that I put into these sort of deals. And
And you know, there's no shame in that,
Yeah,
right?
I love
There's no
it.
shame in that. I'll tell you one real world example where I use the take back a lot is when I know I'm in competition. I'll use a take back to plant the seed of doubt. right? Ideally, I want to sign them on the spot, but if I just really can't, if I've handled them and they want to keep those appointments, then I give them a take back, like, look, you know, chances are I'm not gonna be the best listing price for the presentations you're gonna see. My price is not gonna be the highest, right? Kind of a take back close, but really just you're planning down. And then I tell people very realistically, so I just want you to be cautious if you do meet with agent XYZ, or, you know, if you meet with these other agents, be wary of an agent that wants to buy your listing. And just drop it. I said, well, what do you mean by that? Like, wouldn't I want them to buy them? No, what I mean by that is, there's two types of agents in the market. There's agents that only take listings they know they can market effectively and sell. And then there's agents that will take every listing because it's a sign in the yard and they know that they will get buyers and sellers from marketing your home regardless of whether they sell it. And the number two agent, by the way, they don't care about what the list price is because they're going to use your home to sell other homes. And so they'll give you the price you want to hear and buy that listing from you. They don't set the house price, the market does. I don't set it as an agent, you don't set it as a seller. So they may give you the number you want to hear, but be wary of that agent. Because if they do that, then guaranteed they're gonna call you in a couple of weeks and ask you for a price drop. Right? Or you won't hear from them again because they're already farming leads, right? So you can plant some doubt by doing that too. And I'm not afraid to do that either, because then I can set the expectation, say, hey, here's my comp range. I want you to know, I encourage you to make the decision based on the agent you feel is best positioned to successfully sell your home and meet your goals, not on the agent with the highest price. And if that is not me, if I'm not the highest price, but you still feel I am the right agent to sell your home, I want you to give me a call so we can talk through. I want you to share the CMA, let me know what it is that they said. Maybe there's something I missed, right? But ultimately, I want to make sure you're taken care of. So you can set that expectation for you.
Really bummed. Now I'm really in it and I have to go. I'm gonna rush right back as soon as I'm done.
Cool.
You better be here when I get back.
We'll see. All right, so let's get into the pre-listing packet. So we set the appointment. Now we have to follow it up with speed to value, right? Not speed to lead, speed to value. So we've set the appointment. Now we've got to have that purposeful approach. Now, you guys have, I'm sure, heard about and are familiar with E2P, right? The 6 personal perspectives.
Yes.
All right, so I won't dive into that, but you know, essentially that breaking point is getting you past that natural ceiling, right? And the pre-listing packet, I will tell you, a lot of agents don't start with this, and their natural talent and conversion skills or the other things that they put in place will get them to a certain level of success. But once you get to that ceiling, to break through that, you've got to add more things in. And a pre-listing packet is one of those things that you can add to break through your own personal ceiling to make sure that you're able to leverage your time appropriately. Because the listing appointment will take less time if you've already gone through a lot of it in advance. So you're not spending time answering the same questions over and over and over again. Do you think agents that sell 500 or 600 homes a year use a pre-listing packet?
Ideally, how long should a pre-listing packet be, and what should it include?
It should include some hints into how you do things, and it should set the right expectation for how the appointment's going to go. And it should talk about you as an agent, your business, Keller Williams as an office, our business, and why they should want to still meet with you. It also should have some information for them to start to consider, because again, it's leveraging your time, right? If you're setting the expectations on that paper ahead of time, then you're doing yourself a favor. Now, don't make the mistake that I mentioned that I made earlier. Make sure that whatever's in that listing packet is commitments, right? I've gotten into that problem. I'd rather you guys utilize a really short pre-listing packet that you know without a doubt you'll hit on every single item in that listing process that's presented, because you don't want to set an expectation and not meet it. Does that make sense? So it's better to have it be short than to have it be really impressive, right? There's some templates on KW Command that you can pull from. Feel free to trim those down. Most of those are longer than what most people will read. Get it really narrowed down to the most important things that you want them to be prepared for. So we'll get into that. So you're building their confidence. You're answering the questions and objections before your presentation, right? A lot of their questions can be answered in that packet. How do you market homes? Where is it going? What's the process look like? What's the time frame? You know, do you use staging? Do you not use staging? What do you, or is it professional photography? Is it not? A lot of your things that you're gonna do all the time, you're gonna have there, and you're gonna take it as an opportunity to state your value and make sure that you tell a seller what it is that you bring. And also, you need to determine what that criteria is. Are you gonna review it in the listing presentation? Are you gonna revisit it, right? Is it going to eliminate the need for a listing consultation? Is it a primer for education that you will provide in a listing consultation, right? What do you want to accomplish? It could be a summary on the NAR settlement and what that means for sellers.
Sure.
You know, you're gonna have that question come up, and if not, it's probably one you wanna bring up so that you can have an intelligent and transparent conversation about compensation, right? Because that's the intent of that settlement. So why not have that expectation set to educate them first and then revisit it when you actually sit down with them? The biggest thing that I had to shift when that NAR settlement came into place was revisiting how I set expectations before I come in the door so that my listing presentations don't take an hour and a half or 2 hours, right? I used to be streamlined down to 45 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes. I could be in and out, and I had my presentation down pat. As soon as we started answering all these questions about compensation, trying to explaining the context of the whole settlement and busting up the myths that the media got wrong, right, and all those things, I actually found that it was distracting from me actually providing all my value. I was doing more educating than I was expectation setting, right? So the pre-listing packet can solve that problem for you. So you can focus on what is most important to them as a client, as a unique client, not just educating them about where the market is, right? Does that make sense? So it's got all this stuff. I mean, it really helps them understand. I would recommend less than 10 pages. So some of the key things in there, obviously you got your cover page, you want to have your contact information. If you have some kind of promise or to the seller, if you use the promise script, or if you have a vision for your company or a mission for your company, or you as an individual, if you want to include that in there, that's a really good place to put it. For me, I tend to explain why I do the business that I do. I actually talk about legacy. I talk about what I'm building for my son. My sellers know that. That's part of me as an individual. And I think it's important for them to understand who they're getting into business with, and that I'm motivated not by money, but by helping them and helping create their legacy too, right? So build that in there. Make sure that any of your metrics are in there. If you don't have your personal metrics, you can add office metrics. This market dynamics page that I just handed to you guys, this is the second page of the sales price to original price comparison sheet from the broker metrics that we receive on a monthly basis. So if you don't get this, you can ask the office staff for it. And I set this tone and I revisit this. It's part of what they get. They also get a net sheet by the end. I want them to understand the market that we're in, right? So they're educated sellers. Past that, any client testimonials that you can do is great. If you want to give them some examples or links to previous listings or current listings, that's great. I love to send them to my social pages because that's usually where it's people like surfing on social, they're comfortable with it. And it also is a really good highlight because I have client reviews on there. I have listing videos. They can see how active I am in the industry. I know you guys have been doing some fun stuff on social media, right? So I mean, like a link to that is going to be great because it shows your personality before you can walk in the door, right? Stuff like that is great to include in that packet. So when it comes to actually checking it, and your checklist, there's a checklist in your Ignite materials. Make sure you deliver it, confirm the appointment, ensure all the decisions makers are in attendance. So don't make the mistake that whoever talks loudest is the one that makes the decisions, right? Oftentimes it's the quiet one of the couple that may actually be the driving decision maker. So if they're not there, you've already missed out. I've had listings that I've lost because I talked to one spouse and the other spouse already made a decision on who they were going to list with before I even hit the door. They just weren't communicating with each other, right? And I didn't have the decision maker. I thought I did, but I didn't, right? So don't make that mistake. It's a simple question. Are all the decisions makers going to be present? And if they say, well, you know, my wife's really busy, you know, she keeps a pretty tight schedule and I want to make sure that we're sensitive to that time. So, you know, if it's okay, you can just meet with me initially. So, hey, I respect that, and I respect that you're trying to guard your spouse's time. However, I want to make sure that I'm not wasting your time either. So I'll happily work around her schedule. Would it be valuable if we trim that down just to about 30 minutes, just to make sure that I hit all the highlights, and then I can send you a pre-listing packet to help save time when we get together. So set the expectation, make sure that they're there, and then review that lead sheet. So, all right, Ahas. I'm gonna be sensitive to time. How are we doing on time? We're at 1 o'clock. Cool. Got about an hour left.
Love the different types of closes, and as I'm putting things together, especially on KW Command and what's that young lady's name that you use for your
Kate.
listing presentation? Yeah, that's so I like to do a list. I got quite heavy.
Yeah, give her a
hefty
call.
to-do
She
list.
asked the other day, she said, is that guy gonna call me? I said, I think so.
Yeah, I wanted to get through
Yeah.
the listing and buyers portion of this things. That way I can kind of gather all this information, find out exactly and set my expectations with Kate and make sure that she knows exactly what I want in a listing presentation.
Trim that down.
Yeah, I want to make sure that if I am approaching for sale by owners, that it looks very similar to a listing presentation, but it's a for sale by owner game plan that I plan on sending over to for sale by owners. Just kind of getting them aware of the things that I can do and the continual follow-up every week. Just ask them how it's going, not even ask them for an appointment. Say, just thinking about you the other day, just asking, and eventually getting that, you know, if she's not getting any showings, offering an open house or try to provide some type of value to be able to get in and break that ice with that for sale by owner.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up, Terry. We're not talking about lead source right now, but I will tell you that specifically with for sale by owners, the last agent standing wins.
Yeah.
Most agents with for sale by owners, they don't follow up enough.
Yeah.
They're top grading their leads. They're really good on front end lead generation, and they're terrible at follow up.
Right.
This is the typical agent. That's true. I will tell you in my experience. And I've coached a lot of agents, right, as a productivity coach here prior to Shannon taking over. I've seen the activities in real time. They tend to like a sprint, not a marathon, right? And I'm not saying that as a judgment. I'm guilty of that too. Every agent is, right? It's easy to be excited about trying to get those initial leads, and you're going to be basing your maybe top grading your database for example, those for sale by owners or leads or Facebook leads, whatever they are, to try and prioritize your time to people that are being more ready to raise their hand and say, hey, yeah, let's set the appointment, right? But you're losing out on a lot of potential business. You got to stick in for the long haul. And I would say value over time is more important than the quantity of value on the front end. You have to establish the relationship, but with for sale by owner specifically, you could almost look at your full listing presentation. If you don't have the opportunity to get in front of them, you could piece it out and just do a piece at a time once a
Say
week.
value without consistency is, remember that? Consistent value and then value without consistency is not visible. I'm trying to remember exactly how.
Well, same concept of the 8x8, right? People forget who you are. You gotta, yeah. I mean, it's the same way we learn. It's better to learn 15 minutes a day than to spend 3 hours cramming for a test, right? You're gonna retain that information longer. So, cool. Let's get into the actual appointment. So, the goal of the appointment is to do 3 things. You wanna make sure you're creating the impression to build confidence. You're gonna wanna make sure that you're sharing your pricing recommendation, and your reasoning behind it, right? You have to show your work. I say that all the time, show your work. Don't just come in and say, oh, I think I can get this for it, right? That doesn't establish confidence in your expertise. It establishes confidence that you can come up with a number on the spot, right? So show your work, and then set the expectations for how you're gonna market the home and work with sellers. So those are your 3 goals in that appointment. And you need to make sure that it's setting the right expectation to meet that need. So there is a full listing presentation and help article that we can go into. The links are in here. You can go to answers.kw.com, search for Ignite Reference Guide, and it will actually pull up and allow you to customize that listing presentation. So that's where so if you guys want that URL again, I'll write it up here. So answers.kw.com.
Answers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I looked at the listing presentations have you looked at them? And, yeah, they're not bad, and they've got good info. I ultimately ended up. Did you create your own, Brian, or did you?
I did.
Okay, yeah. I bought one off of Etsy just because of the aesthetics on there are just a little, they just look and flow better. And then they give you a pretty good outline of what, and then I hired Kate and she basically just put in there, I voiced to her what I wanted and she almost like ChatGPT just kind of did it, but as a human. So she did make it pretty awesome and I did get to, you know, very much tailor it to me. And, you know, you're right, like making it very specific, but not too long is very much key.
Keep it concise, but keep it, different, because you don't want it to look like every other.
Yeah, because I think the one and I know you can shorten it down, but I think it's like 30 pages or something like that in there. So it's like very long.
Treat that as a guideline, not as a rule. You're
Yeah.
not realistically going to go through 30 pages of content. You're not. You're just not. So, you know, a lot of them are there, and I do have a little bit of a longer packet. If you guys ever want to see one, I have, I don't have any in my car right now. I have some in my home office. But I've got a full packet that I go through, and I don't go over everything. And I tell them, I set the expectation on the front, I'm not gonna go over all of this. Some of that is reading material to leave them with, right?
Right.
So that they go back and revisit it, they have a reason to, when they're deliberating and discussing and they're reviewing agents. So it's good to leave them with something of value. But make sure what you're actually gonna go over is concise, so we'll talk a little bit about some of the stuff that's included in here. I would think about this page. We've already talked about this. Again, think back to the buyer seller survey. What's most important to sellers? The largest category was, we don't know, other, right? So that's why this page is essential. You look at some of the questions on here, now it's kind of hard to read. You got, what's the one thing that has to happen to make your dream scenario a reality? How can I make that happen for you, right? Why is that important to you? If we could add just one more thing to make this process even better, what would it be? Why is that important to you, right? Questions are the best scripts, right? Because if you're consistent with your questions, the answers to those questions will dictate how you provide 6-star, not 5-star service to every client that you work with, right? And just to get into that, so go ahead and read that for me, one of you gentlemen.
I am knowledgeable and caring and the best agent for these clients. They will appreciate my expertise and preparation and choose me to represent them as they sell their home.
Does this look familiar? You guys seen that before, something similar to it? So it's almost an identical affirmation into the buyer consultations, right? And I think both of you gentlemen were in bold too, right? So affirmations are a big part of business, right?
Yeah.
This is an affirmation, right? It's a long one, right? But it's an affirmation. So I am knowledgeable and caring and the best agent for these clients. That's one by itself, right? So that's one affirmation. Another one, they will appreciate my expertise and preparation and choose me to represent them as they sell their home, right? If you can record yourself saying this and play it as if it's the best rock song ever on the way to a listing appointment, I promise you, you're gonna go in with a better attitude, right? I'm not as consistent in affirmations as some, but I will tell you where I found them most useful is recording them in my voice and playing them on the way to whatever the appointment is or wherever I'm going as a reminder to what I actually think about myself, right? Because if I walk in that door and I don't fully, wholeheartedly believe that I'm the absolute best agent for them, then I won't be. And I won't take that listing, right? Because you have to believe that you're providing the best value possible if you actually want to take the listing. And that's the secret sauce, I will tell you guys, for agents that are successful or unsuccessful in this industry. A lot of them do all the activities, but to their core, they don't actually take the time to really consider whether or not they believe what it is that they're selling. that resonates with you guys, you don't have to like raise your hand or anything, don't make it awkward, just seriously think about that, because I've struggled with that through various times in my career. Within the past year and a half, I've struggled with that. I hit a point where I had to go back to my bold work. I had to go back to my mindset work and really lock in and say, why am I doing this? And do I truly believe that I provide the value that I say that I provide? Because if I don't, then that means I have to do some work myself before I have a right to take that listing, right? So don't miss on that. Does that make sense? Cool. So let's do, I'm gonna get bold in here. I'm gonna actually ask you guys to say it with confidence. So I'm gonna read this and I want you to say it back. So we're gonna start with just that first one. So I am knowledgeable and caring and the best agent for these clients.
I'm knowledgeable and caring and the best agent for these clients.
All right, I am not convinced. So let's try that one more time with a little more energy. I am knowledgeable and caring and the best agent for these clients.
I am knowledgeable and caring.
There we go.
The best agent for these clients.
That's way better. All right, let's go to the next one. They will appreciate my expertise in preparation and choose me to represent them as they sell their home.
They will appreciate my expertise and preparation and choose me to represent them
as they sell their home.
home.
Awesome. All right, so I'm not gonna make you guys suffer through that too many more times, but seriously though, do you feel different? You know, this stuff is cheesy. I was like the world's worst. Like when I first took bold, I was like, no, this is dumb, right? This is not me, right? And I find myself giving affirmations all the time and personalizing them. This listing is mine if I choose to accept it, right?
And during bold, I wrote down these like 10, 12 affirmations and put them right next to my mirror. It says, I am loyal, I am caring, I am selfless, I am a good listener, I am educated, I am smart, I'm logical, I'm successful. And the last one is I'm a motorboat, SOB. So that'll always be my blood.
So I've taken bold 5 times. First time I took it, it allowed me to take my family to Disney. My commitment was once. I actually ended up getting season passes taken 3 times, right? So it was incredible. My second bold, I took my wife to Japan, right? Neither one of those are things that I thought I could do. And I will tell you, I'll share my personal affirmation because it kind of goes into this, right? You know, we talk about, you know, you have to be confident. It's still the most memorable affirmation, and I still have to remind myself of it. And it's the first one that really stuck when I was going through bold the first time. And it's, I am worthy of the business. I am worthy of the business. And this is me being vulnerable with you guys because you chose to invest in yourself and show up. So I'm going to be vulnerable with you too. I haven't always felt worthy of the business. I really struggle with that. And there are times where my mindset slips and I struggle with it again. And there will be times in the future where I will question whether or not I'm worthy of the business that I have. And as long as I'm asking that question, I won't be, right? But as long as I'm reminding myself why it is, and that it is true that I am worthy of the business, I will always have a worthy business to have. I will have a worthwhile amount of business, and I will do a worthwhile job. Does that make sense? So, and I'm getting personal there, but it really is that important. It really is that important. Cool, opportunities. So let's get into all of this stuff. Well, we're a little bit, we're about 40 minutes to the end of the content. You guys want to take a quick bio break? Or you guys need a break? You want to keep pushing?
Real quick.
So we'll take just a couple minute break. I'm gonna get a drink. So, because I realized I blew through my breaking point and didn't give you guys a stopping break. So I'll grab a drink real quick. We'll revisit.
Do it right now. We haven't even made Thanksgiving yet. We already got Christmas trees up. Oh my goodness.
It's November 1st. It's time.
No.
All right. Any of you listening online or watching this recording, I am going to not stop. I'm gonna try and pause and see if I can get this to work, so bear with me. Okay.
Whole day off to take care of all that stuff down, right?
Yeah.
Vacation. You cry a little bit at Christmas, knowing in 4 days, 5 days, you have to take it all down.
A little bit.
Okay, and we're back. All right, for anybody tuning in after the fact, because I know people have been watching these recordings a lot. All right. So the listing presentation is an opportunity to show off your hard work and to get the listing. And in addition to going through that, you'll also ask for an agreement, but don't forget to actually update your opportunities in Command. This is the Command blog. I used Command exclusively for several years to run my business. I don't use it now, but that's not because I don't believe it's a really powerful tool. It's just that as my business grew, I wanted a tool that was a little bit more tailored to me. But this opportunity pipeline and the database health, everything like that is huge, especially if you intend to grow a team, you have agents work with you. I will tell you, being in that position, having multiple agents that are in production as part of my business, this is a game changer in terms of being able to look at performance. When I was a coach, I had a database or a market center Command access, so I could see all the productivity for the agents that were in there. I know that Shannon probably works with you guys on that, looks at your production. So start building on those habits yourself. So update it at every single stage, and Command's really smart. If you actually update it and you're diligent on that, it will start to give you data on what your conversions are, how long people sit in different stages, right? You can even customize those stages. And if you want to customize once you sign or your pre-listing packet information, you can turn on notifications for clients in Command so that you can build out the steps and you can show which ones are visible and which ones aren't. It takes a little bit of work to do. Wim Oaks, who's actually part of my business, he's a really good resource for this. All the way through from pre-listing, sending packets, setting expectations to going live, and then all the way through the transaction, going under contract, all the way to closing and post-close. He has Command steps that are automated communication that goes out for everything as it happens. So he marks something complete and the seller gets a notification for what's happening, right? So, staging is scheduled, photography is scheduled, contract sent to the title, right? All of those steps are detailed in here. So if you're not to a point where you can have an admin yet, you can still find leverage for a listing and get your time back by setting that up. And so it's really, really smart tools in there. Don't skip out on that. All right, let's talk about the walkthrough. So when you arrive at the actual seller's home, you want to make sure you're establishing yourself as a professional right away. So you're going to greet them, thank them for the opportunity. You're going to ask them if you can leave some things in the kitchen while you conduct the walkthrough, right? This seems small, but I will tell you that your demeanor, the way that you lead that process will show your expertise, so you don't have to talk about your expertise, right? So when I walk in, I say, hey, you know what? I would love to take a tour of your home. Is it okay if I set this stuff down? We're gonna go through this later. You're welcome to actually sit here and go through some of the packet if you'd like to. I will look at homes for a living. It's only gonna take me a few minutes. And it's a lot faster if I can just go and walk through everything. Is there anything before I get started, any rooms that are off limits that I need to know about? And then I just take the walkthrough, right? Because what happens if you don't set that expectation? What are the sellers gonna wanna do?
Walk with you.
They're gonna walk with you, but like, this is the new furnace. Right? And right here, that's a picture of my kids, right? Or, we used to have carpet, then it was hardwood, but then we decided to change it and this was the brand, right? And all of these things that they're talking through, they believe it's valuable, but the history of the property, while good to know and relevant sometimes, does it impact your purpose for that appointment that day? No. And you will spend your entire appointment time with them playing Vanna White and showing every feature of the house. And you will never get to have the time to establish value, because they're gonna be antsy by the time you actually get down to sit to the kitchen table and you're gonna try and take the listing, right? So, I would highly recommend you set that expectation on the front and say, hey, you know what? I actually prefer to walk through the home by myself, just so I can make an observation. And a really good script to do that is to say simply this. When buyers walk through your home, you're not going to be here, right? So it's really important for me to see your home as a buyer would, without any kind of knowledge of where things sit. If I have questions, and there'll be time for updates, you know, we'll get to that once we sit down, but I would love to have a fresh perspective with fresh eyes and just take 5 to 10 minutes to walk through the home. Does that make sense? So I know it seems small, but yeah, set the expectation, walk through, you're gonna be thankful that you get that time back. And then after,
Have you ever had anybody like insist, like, no?
yeah, oh yeah, I have, no, I really wanna walk through.
Yeah,
Occasionally I've caves, right?
because I'm new, obviously, and I kind of tried to do that with my very first listing. They're like, let me just show you, and I'm like, all right. So I'm just like, all right, so.
Well, and I would say this too, push back, right? If they do, just try and handle it and say, you know what, I really appreciate that. You have a beautiful home. Give them a couple compliments. To kind of put them at ease. You know, you have a beautiful home. I already see you've made some great updates and you've taken really great care of the home. And I appreciate that you want to show it off. That's exactly what I want to see in a seller. However, it's really important for me to get in the mindset of a buyer, and I don't want to do you a disservice by not seeing things that they might see without having your assistance. So is it okay with you if I just take a couple minutes and then we can talk about all the updates that you've done, right? So just really try and push it, because yeah, they'll
Yeah.
try and lead you through the whole house.
Yeah, he totally just did. I mean,
Yeah,
and obviously being fairly new, I just was like, okay, sure.
and you don't always have the table too, I would say, avoid the living room. Some people say, oh yeah, and they want to just sit on the couch. Never good. It's never good. A table's more intimate. They're closer to you. They are, you are asking them to invite you into the heart of the home by sitting there and around the kitchen table, right? So so location is actually important. If they have a dining table there, that's where you should be, right? And then again, make sure, you know, your home walkthrough is going, to further inform you, how you'll write the information for the listing, your marketing plan, your pricing strategy. And it's really best to be conscious about that narration, right? Because if the seller is narrating the whole home, then you're not able to formulate your strategy. So that's another objection you can say. You're like, hey, you know, as I'm walking through, I'm not simply looking for updates. I'm formulating a marketing strategy. And it's beneficial for me to have the space to really be uninterrupted and really think about how to best highlight your home. So while I appreciate you wanting to walk with me, it's really an important part of the process for me to try and get in the right zone and make sure I'm walking through your home and giving it the attention that it deserves, right? So there's lots of ways that you could pitch that, but I would really be firm on getting them to sit at the table, setting your stuff down, and then walking through by yourself, right? Do share that checklist. And for me, I use the data input form provided by the MLS. It's a really easy way to walk through. You print a blank one when you go through, and it's a way to look through and basically pre-fill that out. A lot of agents do that on the back end. But if you walk with that and just check, then it'll give you all the questions you need to ask them when you sit down. Because if you sit down and you're not sure what kind of piping it is, or you're not sure if that's forced air or it's central air, whatever it is, if there's features in the home that you're not familiar with, then you can turn that around and say, hey, here's some of the notes that I made. If you want to take some time to review this, let's correct anything that we need to correct.
The MLS data sheet.
Yeah.
Specifically.
It's a required input form. You can get a blank one in command in the templates. Print a blank one. I mean, it's probably won't be the one ultimately that you use, but it's a really good way to operate and make sure you have everything. It's also kind of a built-in assumptive close, right? Because you're already preparing for how you're going to list the home. You're already asking for their investment in that preparation. It shows your expertise. It shows you're not there to maybe win a listing. It shows that you're there to list and sell their home, right? So use that to your
You
advantage.
have that MLS info sheet in your binder here.
I think I do, actually, yeah. In fact, I know I do. I just don't know if I have a spare copy.
I don't want to side rail us, but what are some of the things that you would include? I know you said Missouri broker disclosure form.
So, here we go. I've got contract, I have the HSA documentation, or warranty, just to have that. I've got buyer's agency. I have the seller's agency packet. Here's the seller disclosure and input form. So right here, I have these pre-prepped packets. Let me grab it back. So you can see right here, this is one of my packets. I'll show the camera for you guys. So I've got seller disclosure already ready to go, right? For them to start filling it out. And then right here is the MLS input form. It's the next thing I have in there. So I've got it on me at all times that rides with my car. And as you go through here, I mean, look, it's got like dining. So what do we have? Utility room, basement. Is it finished, partially finished, unfinished, block, concrete, exterior entry? Is there French drain? Is it walk out, walk up? Is there a sump pump? I mean, cooktop. I mean, are we electric, gas? Is there a humidifier? Is there not a humidifier? Is there an ice maker? Is there not an ice maker? So that you can get really thorough with that. And you can either walk through that and then mark what you see and then leave that to them as homework, right? Or you can fill out the whole thing. It does take a little while to fill out the whole thing. So if it's your first appointment and it's not an established client and you don't already feel confident, a lot of times you can just leave that packet for homework for them to actually do. Does that make sense?
This, we're creating one specifically for a seller and one for a buyer. So we'll have a buyer packet ready. We'll have a listing.
Yep. And not only do I have the seller's agency packet in a separate folder, I also have the listing input or seller's disclosure as a separate file in here. Because I have my employment documents, and then we've got all of our documentation to actually get the listing ready, right? Which includes disclosures. And if you really want to work on the assumptive, and you see that there's already a prior sale that's somewhat recent, print off a copy of the disclosures that were there on the MLS on the old listing, and give that to them to help them fill it out. Say, hey, here's a copy of the disclosures you filled out at the time that you purchased the home. So keep in mind that you don't just want to copy and paste. This is your voluntary disclosures. However, this might give you some insight and spark your memory on how old was the roof when you bought it, right? How old was the water heater at the time that you bought it? And a lot of times my sellers will find that really helpful. So
Print disclosure from when they purchased.
yeah, print the old disclosure, and I give them a blank one and I give them the old one. I say, here you go. It basically gives them a template. And that will save me so much headache, because that's the one document that's the hardest to get to go live quickly. Because you can't fill it out for them. They have to fill it out themselves. And a lot of times they don't know how to answer the information that's in there. So prepping them for that is huge, right? So, and then obviously you wanna take any comments or make any comments that are relevant. One ask that I do for my sellers too, I ask them to write a love letter for their home. I don't accept love letters from buyers, but I want the seller to write a love letter for their home. And I ask them to be thinking about that, and I set the expectation that I'll be asking for that prior to the listing going live, because I want to know what they love about the home. I mean, use that for marketing remarks, what I can. It'll also give me some insight into the seller's motivation and what's most important to them. It'll even tell me what they'd be offended by based on an inspection negotiation. So it's kind of interesting to see people fill that out. And if it's one that's completely compliant, I've had some cases where sellers really put time and effort into it. It's very eloquent. I'll print some copies and leave it on the counter with some cookies for people as they go through, and they can grab a copy of that. And buyers are really moved by that, because they can say, oh, you know, it's all the things that they can't see. It's like, well, we love it in the fall when the turkeys come out from the trees back there and we can actually watch the wildlife. I mean, it's a personal space, right? So giving them the opportunity to highlight that may also make them feel validated, so you don't have to spend all that time talking about that. They don't feel like they have to convey everything right there at the appointment. So, and then write a thank you note. I mean, as soon as you get done, send it.
Sorry, the listing appointment.
Yeah, so at the listing appointment, you do the walkthrough, and then you get a thank you note in the mail right then. If not, like, you already have it in your hand, you say, hey, thank you. So that's important. So, This is the KW eval, so, would love for you guys to do this feedback. It is important. You don't have to. You can come back to that at the end. I'll put the slide up, but for the sake of time, we'll slide through there. This is the, I'm sure that they've already talked about this. There's a lot with all the hurricane support stuff that's going on. We do have the KW Cares, Foundation, which really does go to a good cause. If you guys want to donate that, you can. You can also set up, a automatic, percentage or dollar amount per closing, which is how I recommend you do it, because we want to teach you to lead from revenue, right? So yes, we want to give to charitable organizations. However, if you can't stay in business, then you can't give more, right? So I recommend give, but give as you make, right? Give as a part of your profit, right? Make it a part of your business where every closing you're giving a set amount to KW Cares or Springfield Cares. Or you can also designate it for our office nonprofit too. So, and then KW Next Gen is here too. So I'm actually, I am just recently approved to be an instructor. So I'm actually working on getting all of that stuff done. I'll probably be doing some classes here locally, but if you guys haven't had the opportunity to go to Quantum Leap, it's a good opportunity. Awesome class. I honestly think it's a culmination and a really concise culmination of a lot of the other classes we do at KW. And it's one of the best courses you can do. Cool. All right. Ahas from the listing walkthrough and appointment.
Probably one of the better ones I've been to in Ignite, my friend, so thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Even though I was late, so sorry.
That's all right. So you missed all
It
of
was
it.
for business, but
No, you're
you very, very well done as far as your presentation, so.
Thank you. Thank you. That's because it's rehearsed and polished. I would recommend you do the same thing for your listing presentation.
Yeah.
So take that aha with you. But thank you. Appreciate that. Cool. All right, so let's get into the agreement. I've got hard copies here if you guys want it. I am not gonna take the time to go over the whole agreement. But if you have not been to a contract class, I recommend you do it. I do have copies, and the thing that I would say on the agreement is order matters, right? Start with the Missouri broker disclosure, get them into the mindset of signing. Like I said, there's a psychological element of that. Don't start right in with, this is how much you're gonna pay me, right? Start in with all of that. And the things that I will negotiate on, I'll talk about this. Within that appointment, everything is customizable, right? So what is negotiable for you? Okay, keep in mind, my disclaimer is early on, everything's negotiable, right? This is not me trying to fix commission, but it is important for you to think about what are the negotiables for you in your business. So I can tell you one thing for me, what am I willing to negotiate on? I will negotiate on a transaction or retainer fee. That is a negotiable item. I have one in because I want things to be able to give back without touching compensation, right? Because this is minimal, right? My transaction fee is $350. A lot of people go $350 up to $500, right? You can have it as a transaction fee on the back end, or you can have it as a retainer fee on the front end. However you structure it is fine. There's pros and cons to both, but I will negotiate on these things. And I'll give you a good example. So it was just in a listing appointment this week, and I gave them the option. I said, you know, I have the option for you to prepay with a retainer and get a discount on the total compensation that you'll pay. Or you can pay it on the back end only when we close, and it will be above and beyond the other compensation that's given.
One more time.
So I have a $350 transaction or retainer fee.
Correct.
I walk into the appointment, I give them the option for it to be a transaction or a retainer fee, right? The retainer fee is upfront. It is a part of the total compensation. So it is deducted from the commission, and they don't pay any more than that. Let's say it's 3%. They don't pay any more than the 3% to my listing representation, right? Because that $350 that they give upfront, or $500, if you want to do $500 upfront, I will use that to market the home. I'll use that to run ads, to pay for, I don't know, professional sign installation service, just a thought. I mean, you guys already use it, right? So I'll set myself up to spend more on the front end with their money instead of mine. Really good if you're just starting out. And as a reward for that, for the seller, because they're having that confidence in the whole process, that is a reduction in the total compensation they pay me. Right? If they don't want to do that, then I will tie it on the back end as a transaction fee, and it will be above and beyond my percentage compensation, right? So I'm giving them the opportunity to save $300 to $500, however you position your fee, by paying it upfront or by paying it on the back end, right? That's a negotiable. Guess what they're doing if they're negotiating that? They're not, guess what they're not negotiating?
Whether to use your.
Right, and they're also not negotiating whether or not you're taking 3% or 2% or 1%, whatever it is, right? Or so-and-so said they do 3,000 flat or whatever it is, right? They're not negotiating that because they're like, oh, so I can save a little money by paying some upfront. Cool, right? I'll negotiate on that. What else will I negotiate on? Time. I love negotiating on time. All right, my standard listing agreement is a year. Right? So if I get objections on commissions or compensation or whether or not they should use me or any of that stuff, I can handle that objection by negotiating on time. You know, say, hey, look, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I can appreciate that time is valuable to you. And I can appreciate that this is a really large decision. I'm confident that we can come to an agreement on how to list and sell your home competitively. And because of that, I'm willing to cut my time frame in half so that if I'm not able to sell it in 6 months, you don't owe me enough, right? I'll even cut it to 90 days, right? If I can't sell, if your standard is 6, I'll cut it down to a 90-day agreement. And so guess what? If I don't sell it 90 days, you're no longer obligated to me past that point. It frees you up to use another agent if we don't successfully bring you something you're happy with, right? If it's a hot enough market or if it's a hot enough property, might even go to 45 or 30 days, right? I'll negotiate on all of those terms in lieu of commission or compensation. I'm not supposed to use the word commission, right? I may even have a higher commission option with a lower time frame. So one of my listings that I have live right now, I didn't hit my timeline, but in the first 30 days, I had written into my contract that if I brought them a successful offer within 30 days, then I was going to make 4%, so 3%. I didn't hit my 30 days, which I was pretty bummed about, but.
That's what I was gonna ask you is your 4 versus 3, are you giving anything above what you normally give as far as marketing or what is?
Yes, in that instance, I wasn't giving anything above, it was just incentivizing, it was something that the seller actually wanted to go with and they wanted to sell quickly. And I told them that was how we could do it. And I missed it, but that's okay, you know. But my typical 4 versus 3, my 4, not only am I providing professional photography, videography, drone where applicable, but I'm also providing a listing consultation with an interior designer and digital staging or actual staging, depending on whether it's vacant or occupied. And then I'll even offer handyman service and either a moving credit or a junk removal credit, depending on what's needed, right? House cleaning too, right? Okay, you gonna do professional staging and rent some furniture for a little while, or do you want me to pay for a professional house cleaning and come in and do a deep clean on the house so you don't have to worry about that, right? So essentially it's a white glove service. So you can offer a solution to address anything that they might otherwise have to do themselves. And one of two things will happen. Either they want to take advantage of that because they're busy and their time is more valuable than it is to clean their own house, right? Or to stage their own house or to remove the junk or whatever. Or they're in a position where they physically can't do it, right? So think owners that are absentee owners, right? Owners that live in New York and the property was willed to them when mom passed and they don't even live in Missouri, right? Do you think it's a benefit to them to not have to worry about prepping the listing? Absolutely. It's one they'll probably pay for, right? So there's certain scenarios where it makes sense. I've had some older clients where they really, really found value in moving because the reason they're moving is because they have 2 levels and they need to be on one level, and they both have bad mobility issues because of health reasons. Do you think they found value in me offering to move their stuff so that they don't have to, because it's tough for them? It's the whole reason they're moving. Absolutely, right? So they're willing to compensate more to have those services covered. So I typically don't make more money when I offer that service, but I do provide a stellar experience. And I also provide opportunity for vendors that I have great relationships with that creates more referrals for business down the road. Does that make sense?
Hypothetically, what if a client needed like a pressure washing done on his house? Like there's maybe some mildew, you can tell the windows needed some help. Maybe it's a 2-story building. Recent listing over there on South 12th. I had some guy come in, quote him $1,500, and it needed pressure washed. You know, it just needed the vinyl, the stone, the bricks, the concrete, everything just needed a good freshen up.
Yeah.
So, and would that be something that you would
Absolutely.
put into that 4% specifically? I mean, that was a $1,500
Yeah, well,
expense for pressure washing.
so here's the thing to keep in mind. You've got to map this out. And you have to be in a position in your business where you're willing to front load and take the risk, right? Because you're paying those vendors for that work, right? Which shows a lot of confidence for the seller, because it means that you are confident that you're going to sell that listing, because otherwise you lose money on the work that you're doing to improve their home, right? If you have flipping experience, I'm looking at you particularly, I mean, you could offer to flip the whole house before listing, right? And there's no reason why you couldn't do that if the agreement was solid enough, right? And if the expectations were clear enough and they understood that they can't really balk on market price, right? You need to be able to price it to where the market is if you're going to be putting your dollars in it as an investment and making sure that you're going to sell that home, right? So that's where a lot of listing agents get into, where they're getting like, you know, 4, 5, 6% on top, you know, of whatever typical compensation would be, because they're offering to do all of that, right? And it's a math equation, right? So you say, okay, well, at this price point or above, I know that I'm making X dollars more in compensation per 1 percentage point. And if I factor in my split with KW and whatever my expenses are, then I have a working budget of what I can put towards the home. So now it's just a matter of finding those vendors that I trust, negotiating terms with them, because they'll probably give you a better rate than what they would give the client outside of that, because you're giving them consistent business, right? And then you build it in, right? Because you're taking the risk. You're taking the risk. So when I say value can be equal to compensation and you can set whatever price you want, that's what I'm talking about. You really can set whatever price you want.
Add a percent point or 100 basis points to every service that you provide. You want me to help assist moving? Oh, I can do that.
Sure.
You want to
The service fee on top of whatever the service fee is, right? Yeah. You know, look, I'll be transparent. So you guys know, I'm the owner of Sign Rover, right? I negotiate better print prices than what you can get as an individual. I give you better prices than you get as an individual. And I also have a small margin where my company makes money for that service, right? Because there's time and relationships invested in it. There is no reason why you can't do that as an agent, right? So when you guys call me and you want to print some corrugated signs, right? I can get them at a lower cost than anybody else can. So I can give you a better cost than you can get individually. And I still make $1 or 97 cents or whatever it is per sign. It's a small margin, right? But you can build the same thing into your real estate business. So hopefully I didn't offend Mr. Bowers over here because he's ordered signs with me, but you get it, right? It's business.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
business. So,
I expect you to,
sure.
yeah, make money because,
Yeah.
and I got an awesome product, so.
Awesome, yeah, good. That's what, so you can provide that same thing for your listing clients, right? So they are paying for not only just your expertise, but your relationships within the market, right? This is what you do for a living. You know the best house cleaners, you know the best stagers, you know the best moving companies, and you have the relationships to negotiate a better price so that you can provide that service. And that's a win-win, right? It's a win for you, it's a win for the vendor because they're getting business they wouldn't otherwise have. And it's a win for the seller because they don't have to do it and they're getting potentially a better price and they're removing the risk. Because there's a lot of sellers that are equity rich and cash poor, right? They have a good equity position, but they don't have that money on hand to pay for all those things to prep for the listing. And you guys know just as well as I do that if the proper work was done on every listing, then they would be able to maximize the dollar, right? So, you're providing them an opportunity to do the things that they would do if they could do, that they wouldn't otherwise be able to do, and you can charge for it, right?
Ideally, in that net sheet, I always put an additional 2% of, fixing the house up and repairs and
Yep.
stuff like that.
Yep.
And,
My net sheet, I started with 1% based on the sales price for repairs, but recently I have had to up it to 2%.
Yeah.
I do include repairs because it's a working budget. So, all right, so we didn't go in line by line, but I did talk about some of the ways that I negotiate that. Again, transaction, retainer fee, time. We talked about it, but we didn't add it. Additional services. These are all things that I'm willing to negotiate on. Because what I'm not willing to negotiate on is my compensation, right? I am worth what I charge, right? If it's not one of my predefined packages, right, if it's not an offer that I make, I'll be transparent with, yes, commissions are negotiable. Are you willing to negotiate on commissions? No, right? Because I would be doing you a disservice, right? Because I spend more money on your listing than the average agent, and I don't wanna lower my marketing spend on you. I don't wanna market the preparation. I don't wanna lower the amount of time I'm able to spend on your listing. And by the way, you don't want me to either, right? So,
I mean, outside of what Keller Williams provides, putting it on, was it Zillow or Realtor.com? So my listing there in Ozark, I've only had 2 showings on it. It's been live for almost 3 weeks. What more can I do specifically to be able to promote this listing? Now I have I'm trying to do an open house tour, agent open house tour. I've partnered with Great American Title and 417 Home Loans. So here on the 12th of November, we're actually inviting all the agents out. We're gonna have some food. I don't know about alcoholic beverages, whatnot, but we're gonna have food, we're gonna have a drawing, we're gonna put some stuff together. And I'm trying to make it like a parade of homes, like an open house kind of thing, open house parade kind of thing. And so I'm trying to get people to, agents specifically, that's who I'm trying to market to, so they can bring their buyers to this and get this house sold. So outside of that, what else can I do to get more views on my home?
So I'll give you a great example. So, with listing, I go vertical, I don't go horizontal. I'll show you a cheesy example of something that I showed to my sellers.
Oh gosh. You guys are early. No, it's okay. It's fine. We can reschedule. No, wait, let's not reschedule. Hang on. Give me just a second. I've just got to get this turned off. It's not worth it. You made the time to be here to see this awesome house, and let's be honest, I don't want you to miss it. But I don't think that this is going to be very professional. Let me change. Give me just a second. That's not formal enough. Nah, too formal. That's better. All right, guys, let's actually talk about the house. How about it? So this beautiful home is right in the middle of Springfield. It's 4 bedrooms, 2 bath, but the entertaining area is crazy. You've got this huge hot tub, which stays with
And then we
it.
do the walkthrough, right? They get a professional really, most others could already be doing some of that at some level, right? So it's just a matter of making sure that you show, don't tell, right? Give them some examples and some videos that you do. Turian, you are a master when it comes to your tenacity around knocking neighborhoods, open houses, all that stuff. I know you said you had a bad knocking experience, but for example, if you're sitting on a listing point, you talk about what it is that you do, right? You can say, hey, not only am I gonna just place a sign in the yard and put it on MLS, I'm also going to prospect daily to find buyers for my sellers and find sellers for my buyers. And that benefits you because I'm not just waiting on someone to come knock on your door. I'm actually putting the work in to find those buyers, right? Because you will. That's lead generation, right? You would be doing it anyway. And now you're doing that on the listing, but you're explaining the value to the seller so that they know what it is that you're doing, right? Show your work. Show your work. If every agent was transparent about all their lead generation activities around their listings, they would all look like rock stars if they were actually doing the lead generation like they were supposed to be doing. But a lot of them either don't do it, or they do it and they don't tell their agents or their sellers what they're doing, right? I give them a call log report, right? I tell them, hey, we did 400 dials this week. Here's how many voicemails we left. Here's how many answers we actually got. We talked to these 6 people. 5 of them were not interested. One of them said, I set an appointment for to talk about buying a house. They weren't a fit for your house, but this is what we did, right? They don't care, right? They see the work. Does that make sense? So show your work, show your work. So we got into all of that. We were right at 4 minutes left, and I think the office just called me because I think I have a client upstairs, probably wanting to drop things off. So let me call them back. So what I want you guys to do is take a minute to write down. Oh, hey Nicole, it's Brian. I think I just missed a call from the front office. So I have a client here. Okay. That's fine. Cool, I'm downstairs, so I'll be right there. Bye, thanks. Bye. Sorry, I have a tenant that's dropping off. Okay. Let's think about some ahas, right? So how's your thinking changed, or what ideas or mindsets were new? You guys can dwell on that. We'll do this together because we got a couple minutes left, 3. So how's your thinking changed based on the class?
Yeah, I honestly have not thought about charging more than 3. I mean, I know that I'm extremely new, but I do know that I have a lot of experience in buying and selling real estate and flipping, and what can you do to make your house worth more and junk like that. So I need to think around that, how I can maybe leverage that a little bit better in my listing presentation. I'll offer you a 3, but there's also a 4 package.
Yeah, love it.
Which will be maybe a shock to some people, like, you know, because they're not used to paying more than 3, really. So,
Well, what's the worst thing they can say? Well, no, that's not for me. So
Right.
now I'll pay you your full
Right.
compensation. Cool.
right,
You don't lose anything, right?
right.
Yeah.
So,
I'm glad you brought that up because this really highlights something. I'm gonna pick on you. Don't confuse real estate expertise for your only expertise. This goes for, I mean, both of you have history. This isn't your first career, right? All your expertise is valuable.
Absolutely.
Right? So don't be afraid to highlight your expertise outside of the industry and share your story of what it is that makes you unique, because I don't have that experience, right? I've not done the number of flips that you've done. I can walk in, I can give recommendations. I have people that, you know, I can send them to, but I don't have the personal experience of how to maximize profit with the upgrades that you could do to a home. So your knowledge of knowing how to make updates to get a return on investment, you could be huge in a listing presentation to say, you know what, hey, before you do any updates, I know we haven't met yet. This is when you're setting the appointment. Before you do any upgrades, please, let's set a meeting first. I have a lot of history in flipping homes myself personally. And that combined with my real estate experience, I can help advise you to make sure that you're not throwing good money at a bad upgrade, thinking that it's going to give you a better net, right? So if you had that explanation to me, I would absolutely set the appointment. I'd be like, when? Yeah, and I would set it sooner. I wouldn't wait to meet with you until I was ready to list. I would meet with you right now and potentially sign with you right now, right? So that's a powerful expertise that you should leverage, right? So just think about that.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
So what do you feel differently about? So let's go to the next one. So what do you guys feel differently about? What was meaningful to you guys today?
I really feel that having all your documents and putting everything together in a pre-packet really does, I want to say set the bar, but it shows you're coming prepared and you're ready for the business, that you've done this before. I see that, negotiating value and understanding a client's need while showing a good feature benefit. That's something I've always been very good at. And now relating it to a home. I've been in construction for almost 20 years. I've done estate planning. I've negotiated my butt off selling boats. And one of the things that I've always found with boats, and I've learned very quickly, is I get paid on gross profit. And if I expect, how do I expect people to buy a $200,000 boat when there's no value behind that boat? I have to share them what it does, why it does it, and how it's going to make their lives even better, easier, and what they're willing to pay for or not pay for. And so I think this really applies to houses as being that keen servant to their needs, to their aspirations, and their goals, setting forward and creating that value proposition to share with people that this is why I do it, this is why I'm good at it, and this is why so many people use me.
So I love that. And I'm gonna challenge you, Tarian, to trim it down, right? You said something that stood out. You said being a keen servant to their needs, right? If that's not in your listing presentation already, as part of your unique value proposition, you need to put that in today.
Sure.
Does that make sense? Would you agree with that? Being a keen servant to your needs. So that's straight from your mouth. It's uniquely Turian. I couldn't replicate that, right? That's the kind of stuff that you should have in your presentation.
Sure.
Right? So awesome. Great. Brent, how do you feel? Anything different?
I mean, I kind of what I said
Very sure.
at the beginning, yeah, like just that I could possibly charge more than the 3, and I just haven't really thought about that, because honestly, and I've not had a ton of appointments, but I've got, the few people that I have, the transaction retainer fee, I'm just wording it differently, and I could word it better to where it becomes more of a value of, I'm paying this for you, basically, by taking it out of my compensation.
Yeah.
And I'm just doing that and not really explaining it in that way, I guess. So I need to explain that maybe a little bit better just to show value on that, so.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's sharing the logic behind what it is that you do is important. Yeah, that's good. So let's get into behaviors, actions, and then tools and models. So what takeaways what behaviors are we actually going to be putting into place, or what actions are you going to take based on the content we covered today?
I mean, one of the things I really wanted to do before I spoke with Kate and actually create a listing presentation, because I think paying $15 to have someone put that together, it's polished, there's no errors, typos, it communicates smoothly. But it's replicatable. It's something that I can specifically edit, put their information, make it customizable for that person.
Yeah, because the one, I think I paid $15 on Etsy, and it gave me a listing and buying. And it was all pictures pretty much in there. I just kind of plugged and played my pictures in there, and then just told the content to Kate, and she plugged it in.
It's awesome.
I mean,
Yeah.
So
I think things to implement, how about behaviors affect going forward, and what actions will you take? I've created an amazing to-do list from the things that I've had at Ignite. And while I've gone through the 30-day checklist and gone through Bold, and it seems like I'm really, really sharpening that pencil to be have a great systems in place. But ultimately, I mean, I wrote down a bunch of verbiage and stuff like that, like printing out the old disclosure from the home. That way they have kind of a cheat sheet going along, having that MLS information sheet. I took some dang good notes today. But yeah, I feel that I've been through all this stuff. This is just refining and adding more value and more value and more value, and the consistency in doing it and repeating it and applying it, and doing all this stuff without applying it is just wasting my time. Right. So yeah, I've been implementing and knocking this to-do list out Yesterday was such a productive day. Like, I got so many things done, not only contacts, but just the way I'm connecting with everybody. And so I'm really excited to see what happens within the next month or so.
Awesome. Well, I'll tell you, a lot of agents that are newer or agents that are down in production, they have a scarcity mindset, right? And so, and this is gonna sound a little counterintuitive, right? Because a lot of what KW talks is just get into action, right? Is to get into movement, right? Start lead generating. They say, if you don't have an appointment, your only job is to get an appointment, right? While there is some truth to that, and some people need that message, for me personally, I think that there is value in setting some efficiencies around what you do, so that when you go to do that activity, you're inspired, you feel prepared, your confidence comes through, right? And you are more efficient in your follow-up and your lead gen both, because you've taken the time to know what it is that you provide and the systems that you have, right? So does that take some front-end investment that's not dollar producing activity? Yes, right? So you still have to be purposeful about your time, and it shouldn't be a replacement for lead generation. But I would say filling an entire day on a marathon, instead of having your couple of hours of lead gen and then having a few hours in ops, right, to build your systems, there's a difference between the two, right?
And I'm thinking, one of my to-do lists is setting daily goals and making sure I'm sticking to them. I think adding 10 contacts every day to command is for the birds. I mean, that's great. That's a great goal, but being attainable is also super important with your goals too. If you're doing all these things and not reaching where you need to be, I get it. 10's very lofty, you know what I'm saying? And it's definitely going to propel things, but I'd rather have someone of quality within my command system than quantity.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm constantly looking for that. And then energizing your relationships with Blake Cook the other day, that was just so impactful, sharing with me how many people exactly are coming out of the business. 5% are coming from open houses, 5% are agent referrals. 44% was from our sphere of influence. And so Go AI, man, I went and created a list of all these different events and things that I could do, from a quarterly game night for my ones, like inviting things for seminars twice a year about educating about lending, about first-time home ownership. But I wrote in my calendar for the next year when I get to go call these people about this event. And then 2 weeks later, when I'm calling them again about this event, and then 3 or 4 days prior to the event, giving them a call, like Wingapalooza.
Yeah.
Right? You got my text message about
Yep.
Wingapalooza. So it wasn't just my sphere of influence.
Everybody.
It was everybody.
Yeah.
Because that's an everybody event.
Sure.
Now, am I gonna invite you to quarterly game night? That's how you play your cards there.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, so always giving me a reasons to send that message, I think, was super important. So yeah, I'm just on track. I'm just figuring out different ways to be able to contact people and not say, hey, Bayou wants to buy a home, sell a home, or get involved in investment properties. I very straightforward, and early on, I would make sure that people knew, hey, hey, Bruce, I was taught this story, and I just want to let you know this is a business call real quick, because man, if I start calling my sphere of influence and we could be chatting Cathy's, we could sit there for 20, 30 minutes, and my goal is to make so many contacts. Sometimes I can't really do that. So I have to find
I think establishing expectations is good there too. Yeah.
different creative ways to get in front of these people without just bombarding them.
So, Brent, any tools or models or systems that you?
Yeah, so that's like my weak thing in my game right now. Like,
Okay.
this is my full second month, and I'm decent coming out of the gates with lead generation and getting some business going right away. And my presentation's pretty sharp, and being able to talk to people with confidence is pretty sharp so far. What I'm horrible at, and I'm actually meeting with Nicole Tuesday, is command. Absolutely frigging, besides knowing how to put a name, email, phone number, and then hit create opportunity,
Yeah,
and then kind of stumble into DocuSign, I'm absolutely wretched.
yeah.
Like wretched, and being able to memorize, like the exact boxes I should check on the contract buyer's agency and all that stuff, I'm horrible at. I have to ask Shanna every single time, and it's just lack of confidence. I usually guess the right box,
Yeah.
but it's just lack of confidence, so I know I need to get way better at that to make myself efficient, like you just said, because I hate that I'm not efficient at that. I did hire Onward to be able to do stuff, but I know I need to be able to, like this afternoon, I'm supposed to send a buyer's agency to these two new people because they want to buy 4 houses before December. And I'm like, okay, that's pretty fast, but let me stumble through this buyer's agency this afternoon and I'll get it to you, I promise, you know, so anyways,
And some tips on that, I mean, of course, digital is better, right? 'Cause you can
Yes.
build some templates for all of those standardized forms and
Right.
stuff that you do every time. But you can also go paper as well.
Mm.
And so you can fill that out, get a time with Shanna, like break down how you typically would fill it out, leave out the things that are variables, right? Like name and
Mhm.
address and all that stuff, and print you some templates.
That's what I'm getting ready, as soon as we're done here, I'm gonna go upstairs, see if she's got 10 minutes to print one off for me. Let me just check a blank one,
Yep,
all the boxes that I need to check, and then I can go home and do it online, so.
so you have it.
Yeah.
You have a template, yeah.
Right.
No, good stuff, good
Yeah.
stuff. All right, well, let's get back into the system. So the last hour, so we're about 12 minutes in, I apologize. So, just to recap, you got your daily success system as part of Ignite. You got your conversations, your contacts added, your handwritten notes, the 10-5-1 social media engagement, and then enrichments, appointments, agreements, closings. I will tell you, this has changed over the years. It used to be the 10-4, which used to include like previewing houses. I will tell you that Ignite changed my business, and Bold exploded my business. And then, you know, it's really, it seems a little easy to push back on this stuff, but it really does matter. The handwritten notes are huge, right? If you don't have the contacts to add to the database, add what you can. I would rather see one on everything here than none, right? So if you had one contact, you have 2 conversations and you write 1 handwritten note, that's gonna be a better day than doing none of it or having all conversations but not doing any handwritten notes, right? So get into the habit of those activities. I would really recommend it.
One of the things I won't say I'm with the struggle bus, but I'm trying to find reliable ways to be able to track the activities that I'm doing. I am doing about 95.5 miles an hour. If I take a phone call, if I talk to someone at the gas station, if I have someone in my truck while I'm ride sharing or something like that. I used to keep a full napkin and write down how many contacts and stuff like that, but is it feasible to be able to carry around this little notebook with you at all times? I used to do one daily, you know, so now this week I specifically have a weekly one that has my to-dos and stuff like that. And I found my to-dos are stacking up and I'm getting things knocked out. That's why yesterday was such an amazing day. I think I had 42 contacts Wednesday with my Wingapalooza post. I'm still getting people replying back, hey, I don't care if you can make it or not, you know, I'm just keeping.
It's still
it running.
activity.
Right.
So
And,
I can give you a couple of tips there. So my paper system for a long time before I found some digital systems that I liked was an index card. And it's an index card in my front pocket. To the extent that I had the index card sitting by my bedside, a stack of them, I would go through them on a daily basis. I'd put my priorities for the day. I'd even have places for me to do tick marks for contacts. And then a section where I could write down like important things that I needed to remember to do whenever I had time, if I was out in the field or whatever. And I would only wear shirts that had a pocket. I mean, so when you talk about systems, like that's being systematized, right? So I can't wear a shirt without a pocket because then I can't run my play, right? So, you know, you think like the big tech gurus that were the same thing every day, right? I mean, it's that kind of methodology, but whatever your system is, get it consistent. A track, you know, a lap tracker, you go to Sports Authority, you get a lap tracker. You can click that for your contacts, just for a very rudimentary way to track how many conversations you're having. Obviously, it'd be ideal if you track them on the contact and you get it in command and you use the app. Sometimes the reality is technology gets in the way of communication with people, right? And that happens. So stick that thing on your belt. And then every time you have a conversation about real estate, click. That's a lap, right? Or and it's just a rolling number. It just goes tick, 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 tick.
Is it a specific conversation about real estate that we're looking for? Or is it
What, that's up to you. That's up to you to determine what your KPIs or what your business tracks. But right, whatever you are gonna track though, that lap tracker can help, right? And it's a physical system, not a digital system, so you don't have to worry about it breaking down. When I do Bolt 100s, that was my best friend. So you just track, and any given time during the day, I could see where I'm at. System that Ron Steffes taught me before he passed. He was actually one of the first people I talked to. Big part of founding this office. His system was business cards. If he wanted to have 10 conversations that day, he put 10 business cards in his pocket. And he didn't go home for the day until all 10 were gone, right? And so that was his count, right? It was a countdown. Every time he had a meaningful conversation, he would hand that card out, right? And so if he ended the day and he still had a couple cards, he knew he had 8 conversations, right? I did that with the Bold 100 before I had the lap tracker, where I had groupings of 25 cards and I had 4 stacks of 25 business cards each. And I knew by just looking at the cards I had left, how many conversations I had, right? So you can build your systems without it being digital. That's an option too. So.
Yeah, that's interesting, juggling all the technology with KW Command. I mean, when I'm on the go, I'm not in front of a laptop sometimes, and I have my phone.
Yeah.
And I've got to be able to record, hey, you know, I left a message, hey, I actually called them, hey, you know, we had an appointment, you know, whatever it is. It seems like I'm using, you know, a lot of different things, and I'm going into Command only when I need to create those opportunities, create the paperwork, and move things forward to the system. Using Top Producer, I actually have their CRM as well. So sometimes I'm actually juggling 2 CRMs, and it's like, holy cow.
Yeah, you can add too much complication. So I'm gonna wrap up for the recording's sake, because we're going into our lead generation. So as far as the role play goes, for this session, this is all about setting the stage for helping sellers helping to win the seller, right? So make sure you guys are preparing your contact list. We're not gonna do the role play live because we only have a couple of us. But you guys that are watching the recording, it's really easy. I'm gonna put a disclaimer. This isn't for these guys. It's really easy to just put the recording on in the background because you missed the class and to phone it in, right? So I would strongly encourage you to invest in yourself and your business. If you're watching this at home at a different time than when it's recorded, then at this time, stop, do your activities, get your hour in. Otherwise, you're doing yourself, your business, and your future clients a disservice. And then I'll end the recording with that. But thank you guys. My contact info is here if you guys need it. For those on the web, if you can't read that, 417-234-5579 is my phone number. My email is Brian Stone, Brian with an I, Stone like the rock @kw.com. So if you guys need anything, reach out. But otherwise, thank you guys for tuning in. All right, now I can stop the recording. Cool. So we want to wrap up anything else. We can stop the Zoom.